Welcome, everyone, to the Manifest Incredible Love Show. Today, we have a very special guest, and I'm so excited. We have Marianne. Marianne, would you go ahead and give us a little bit of introduction of yourself first?
Yeah. So I like to consider myself a multi-passionate, multi-dimensional human being that's equal parts bougie and badass. Like, and so I have that energy within me. And in terms of like what I do and how I help and support people, I am a content creator and a manifestation coach that really focuses on helping women manifest love, money with feminine energy and pleasure. Not the hustle and grind way, but like how to lean into our femininity and our feminine energy.
I love that so much. I want to dive deep and like pick your brains about this. So you talk about like manifesting with feminine energy. Can you give us a little bit of a background of what type of energy most people are stuck in before they even come to you and ask for support?
Yeah. And this is something I recognize because I went through this myself, right? You had mentioned earlier, I did my TED talk, I don't know, maybe it's like 4 years ago now, that talked about the different states of consciousness. There's victim consciousness, survivor, and thriver. And what I learned in working with like learning to tap into my own feminine energy, was that if you're in victim mindset, victim consciousness, it's the ones where like, everything bad happens to me. Like, why does this always happen? It's always powers outside of you instead of within you. And I see this getting reflected in very wounded feminine energy. You get needy, or you feel like your self-worth isn't there. You don't value yourself. You don't have enough confidence. And then the next stage is survivor mindset, survivor consciousness, which a lot of people are, especially women, are stuck now. And I didn't know I was stuck until I realized this. Like, I was like, oh, this is how I'm operating. And that's where something happens. And because of it, you want to protect yourself. It's a survival method. So you close up. You distance yourself, you put an armor up. And what is that? That's survivor. That's wounded masculine, where you're like, you know what? You put a guard up. You, even with your face, your energy, you're closed off. You're like, no, I don't want to go through that again. I'm protecting myself. It's just me, not you. Like, it's this masculine, wounded masculine energy. And a lot of women are stuck in this. I was like that. I was like, no, I went through so much trauma, sexual trauma, childhood trauma, addictions, that I thought I was protecting myself. But when you close yourself off to the bad things, you also close yourself off to the good things, right? When you close a door, you close that door. And it's only in shifting into thriver consciousness, which is really a more balanced state. And you lean more into the energy that actually is your baseline. What I call baseline is if you had everything you wanted and you felt safe, how would you actually express yourself? And for me, it's actually my feminine energy. Usually it's when you think back when we were a child and we didn't have a care in the world, how are we more? That's usually like the energy that you want, is really your baseline. And so when you finally feel safe in your own body, you take your power back. That's really and for me, because I realized my base state was feminine energy and I had been living on the opposite for so long, I started opening up and receiving instead of the masculine energy of like, we have to hustle, grind, do the work, versus flow, creating when I feel inspired and following through with it instead of forcing myself, being able to receive more. So receiving things from receiving more help, more support, receiving compliments, receiving gifts. If we manifest, we're asking the universe, like, I want to receive this. And when something happens and you're like, oh, no, I don't want it. Like, that's the energy, right? So that's really how it came to be. And that's kind of the background, how manifesting with feminine energy, when we actually go back into what it is, our baseline, it doesn't have to be difficult. It can actually be fun and joyous and pleasurable, and really a tantric experience that you have every day.
I love that. You
Yeah.
just spoke to my soul because that's exactly in a place that I started off from. And mine was based on work, but I realized this masculine of always doing and stressing and struggling affected my relationships as well, to the point where like I was harming myself and I was harming other people around me. And
Mm-hmm.
now that I've shifted outside of that to how can I, have more fun? How can I get back to my base of being happy and joyful and creating from that space instead of
Mm-hmm.
believing that I have to struggle. I have to
Yeah.
struggle in love and I have to struggle in my career and I have to constantly struggle to get a result.
Yeah. It's an addiction. Pain and pleasure actually are from the same receptors in your brain. And so some people get addicted to that struggle because that's what they've known for so long. But so we have to rewire and reprogram our brains to actually know it doesn't have to be that way, right? It's a reprogramming.
Now, we talk a little bit about manifesting, and to most people, manifesting sounds so far out there. What exactly is manifesting, and how does the feminine energy start attracting and creating from a manifesting standpoint?
Yeah. So we're actually always manifesting that, like, but most people are doing it unconsciously. So our thoughts create our reality, really. Like what we continuously think of is what manifests in our reality. So if it's, focus, attention goes where focus goes. So if you're always focused on all the things that are negative and bad, that's what's going to keep coming up to prove you right, because you're that powerful, right? So when you start consciously manifesting, meaning, what, this is actually the life I want to create, or this is what I want into my experience, I'm going to focus my energy on that. That's what's going to come into your life, because that's what you're more focused on. An actual, there's like, I'm very visual, and I know how people who haven't heard of manifestation before, I needed like a logical explanation. So I totally know where this comes from. So there's a study out that people who like are about to go in a car crash, if they just shifted their attention a few degrees, not staring at what, like, the crash in front of them, and they shifted their focus just a few degrees, their body tended to also move and they would avoid the crash. Many of them would avoid, versus if they looked directly at it, they would continue down that path and crash, because your focus is there, versus like looking just a little bit like, oh, there's a tree, your body tends, and this is the same in like in snowboarding, and when you're going, like, if you look that way, your body shifts. If you look that way, you tend to, like, that's where your energy goes. So that's like, if you keep looking at lack and what you don't have, instead of shifting on the possibility of abundance and like what can create and what you can have in your life, that's the focus, even if just a few degrees each time.
Amazing. And I
Yeah.
know like you are in an amazing relationship right now. I've seen the
Yes.
pictures on your
Yes.
Facebook when you got
I
married.
manifested my husband.
See, now I want to know the process behind that. Like, what what were you looking for at the time, or what was your mind state at the time, and what shifted, and how did that all happen?
Yeah, I actually have an amazing story that I posted on like my TikTok and YouTube channel, and I reference this a lot when I teach my masterclass. So there's 4 stages really in manifestation. It's really just becoming energetically aligned to what you want. So the first part, I think, is where a lot of people struggle or they don't have it, is getting clear. Oftentimes we say we want one thing, but our actions say something different. If that's not in alignment, like for example, in dating, let's say, and because I've seen this a lot, and this is what I used to do before I got really clear. Let's say you desire to be in a relationship. You're in dating apps and someone that's super hot, and you're like, oh, you go on dates, and they're like, I'm not looking for anything. I just want something casual. Even though you say like you wanted something serious, what do? Okay, maybe I'll just give this a try, right? That's not in alignment. If you're really in alignment, you're like, okay, I respect that. Thank you. Go off on your way, and you really stand your energetic ground. That's alignment. But most people say one thing and do something else, and do something else and say one thing. So getting clear is key. Then having follow through with that clarity, which is you say it and then you actually mean it. And that's what, so there's no like energetic like imbalance, it's in alignment. And then you like take the necessary steps, the inspired action that comes with it. So let's say you have an idea for a book, right? Every book, everything that's been created that we see started off as an idea. Right? So that's what manifestation is taking something from that and aligning to it so that it manifests in this reality. So like, what are the steps? So let's say, okay, I want to write a book. This is my dream. I want to be a book. Like you got to do the steps necessary, right? To write that book, to have it actually printed. And when you start taking those steps and keep focusing, like shifting your energy and what you're going to create, eventually after some steps, it becomes reality. It manifests because you became a match for that book that was birthed in the reality. So when it comes to manifesting my husband at that time, the story is, so in 2017, I was in Tulum and I was single. And I was like, I remember this was around October. It was a full moon in Taurus. This is important. This is a full moon in Taurus. 2017. And I went to Tulum because I was finding myself. I told myself I needed to do things on my own to date myself, right? I had started thinking, I was in my spiritual journey, that if I want to attract a specific person or a certain life, I needed to be a vibrational match. Like I needed to let's say I want like a life where I travel. That means you actually have to travel. You can't just say that you want to travel, right? So I'm like, you got to do it too. And so I went to Tulum by myself. I had there was a creative retreat that I did, and I did at the Temazcal. So the Temazcal is basically Mayan tradition. It's like a sweat lodge basically, but it's in this it's like dome that's made from like clay and stone, and they use volcanic rocks from like a nearby volcano. It's heated and then you get steamed out, and they have different herbs and they have different things there. So it's like a sweat lodge, but it's super it's supposed to represent being in the womb and getting rebirthed, because you it's not easy. You have to really practice breathing, be patient. It is uncomfortable. But once you kind of get into this meditative state, it's very you remove toxins, you cry, you sweat, all of that stuff. And after that, I wrote out basically the kind of relationship that I wanted to manifest and what I wanted in my life. And I had this download that I was going to get married in Tulum. I'm like, I don't know why I love this place. This is magical. It reminds me of the Philippines. I'm getting married here. Fast forward 3 years later, I'm married on Halloween. So this is November 31, 2020, on a full moon in Taurus. And both my husband and I, our moon signs are in Taurus. And we did a full moon ritual with the people that we were with. And what I saw in my mind 3 years ago was what manifested. It was on the beach, full moon, all of it. Yeah.
That is so crazy to me. But something like what you said makes so much sense, because it's not just the feelings that you have and what you want, but you have to take action. So you actually took action and traveled, and that's where you met your husband. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, I did it. And so clarity is super key, because even after that, I was like, yeah, I want this. But I said, yes, I went on dates with guys who was not in alignment, but I did. I'm like, oh, the whole thing, maybe, this will be a chance. No, if someone tells you, especially if they tell you that there's nothing, believe them. Don't try to convince anyone. Don't try to do it. They're not in alignment. Just wish them well. And so I was like, why am I not, attracting what I want? And I realized is because I was doing one thing and saying one, and they weren't the same. So I had to get really honest with myself. Right. And for a lot of people, that's difficult. So, they give chances. Oh, maybe this time I can change him or whatever. No, at this age, just trust what they say and move on to someone who actually from the get-go is like, you know what, I'm looking for something serious too. So
that's very common, that because in my early relationship, that's what happened too with a lot of people in general. It's just like you think that if you give a little bit more or like you do something different, like they would change. But it's just like you said, if they don't reciprocate that energy and they don't show up the way that whatever
Mhm.
it is that you wanted in the first place and it's not a match, to say no. And
Yeah,
that's a huge shift for most people, is even if you don't know what you want, saying no to what you don't want guides you closer to what you want. It's
yes,
okay to
yeah,
fail. Like it's okay that it didn't work out the first time or that this is your third or fourth date. You're constantly just saying no to everything that shows up that you don't want, and it's going to lead
exactly.
you closer to everything that you do want.
Yeah. So I love Abraham Hicks, and they talk about how people are like, well, I had this bad experience. The more experiences, if you label it as bad or good, actually, she says to see it as contrast. When you know some people don't know what they want, but you know more of what you don't want, right? So use that as contrast. If you get clear on what you don't want, then the opposite of that is probably what you do want. So start off there. If you don't know what you want, start thinking, okay, what do I not want? I don't want this, I don't want that. And that will help you get clarity on what you do want. That contrast actually is helpful.
I want to like circle back to what you said earlier about how most people are in their masculine. And I know a lot of people don't know how to step out of that. So can you give us like a simple steps on how you teach this, or like how they can shift out of the masculine? Like what are some things that they can do right away? That's super easy.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is you have to have grace with yourself. If you continually push to like, I need this, that's still in your masculine. I need this now. It needs to happen like right away. Instead of the flow and like the openness of feminine energy, we tend to think like, okay, this is what, and I used to think this way. Okay, I want to shift into feminine. These are all the things I have to do. That's still very much in your masculine, right? Like, have grace with yourself. It's not going to be like an overnight thing. There's going to be times where like you do well and then you forget and you go back. Like you have to be good with the flow, with the cycle. Think of it as like the ocean. The waves come in, the waves come out, but eventually the waves like erode and make the sand, right? It's not with one wave, it's like several. So start really getting into the flow. Forgive yourself. Forgiveness is a huge thing that I think has helped me so much. Like you can't be too hard on yourself. You know, you did what you had to do to survive, and it helped you until it's not anymore, right? It helped you survive whatever it is that you need to. It was purposeful for a reason, but yet we stayed in that energy, right? Instead of moving past it. So grace and forgiveness. I think those are the first two. Then start, I call this when I teach this to my clients is the 360 method, which is 360 is like full circle. Start really immersing yourself in the things that you want to shift into. So look at the content you consume, look at like the music, like look like with your senses. What are the things that you see all the time? If you want to bring more feminine energy, maybe put things in your space that like make you feel more in your feminine. For me, it's like scents, right? Like smelling good just makes me feel more like, I love smells. So I always have incense. I always have perfumes. I have essential oils like that always like just makes things just feel so good. Right. And then start like with your other senses, like look at the books you're reading, start immersing yourself in content that is more like that teaches you like this is great, like that helps you learn more about tapping into your feminine energy. Read more books about it, maybe do some meditations, like start really immersing yourself in that environment, right? And a way, because I tie this back to like a logical explanation, you know, so people like, how does that work? I studied Mandarin Chinese when I was in college, 2 years. And I did an exchange program and I studied abroad in Shanghai for like a summer. In that summer, I learned more like Chinese and like Mandarin than I had in 2 years. I was so good. I forgot a lot, you know, 我的中文不好. Is but because I was immersed, right? Same thing. If someone goes into a different country and they immerse themselves in the culture, they absorb it more, right? Than if you're away and you're doing other things and distracted. Same thing. If you start immersing yourself in the things that you know you want to shift into, it's easier than like, okay, a little, like, it's like any energy goes where focus goes. If you start really focusing on building that, that's what happens. If you like dip your toes, if you half-ass it, it's going to half-ass, the results, right? You got to go full ass.
Oh, when I think about that, like I think about like the transitions in my own life and just for people to apply it in their love lives. With me and my husband, like there was a point where things just got so serious, and then I was just like, why isn't it working out the way I wanted to? Things just got stale in the bedroom, and he just didn't want to do it. And I was just like, I don't understand. And this was when I was also shifting in my business, where I was so focused on like working hard, and I was just so upset and blaming him for things. When I shifted back into playful energy, like let's go out, let's have fun, um let's just have a good time, let's just have a
Yeah.
good time. And I was back to my state of like playfulness, and I was wearing dresses again. Oh my god, after my pregnancy I stopped wearing dresses because I could not fit any of my clothes. I did not feel good, and I was judging myself so harshly. And now I'm like, let me love myself for who I am. Let me wear the clothes that makes me feel comfortable, makes me feel beautiful. And my dynamic in the relationship shifted. He was more supportive. He was like, let's go out. Like, let me take you out. And before he would just be like, I just want to stay home. I don't want to do anything. This, I didn't even have to ask him to do. I was
Yep.
just like,
That's feminine energy.
yeah.
See the difference? Without having to try so hard, right? Feminine
Yeah.
energy is more playful. It's more flowy. It's like, it's not too serious. And when we actually start leading with that, we get more than we ever want without even asking. Like compared to if you were in your masculine and like, hey, I want this, I demand it. Like, no, it's not going to happen. Like that's the thing. People realize like when you actually are more in your feminine, you get more of what you want.
And that was, I love that you mentioned this too, because like, if you notice certain characteristic traits of what makes people attractive, it's like humor. Like humor is like one of the big things. Humor, care, like charisma, openness, kindness. These are like states of emotions and states where you're at. If you are comfortable with who you are, you're having a good time, you know how to laugh.
Yeah, it's
So,
magnetic. It's energetic. It really does attract you.
mm. I'm just soaking it in right now for the audience
Yeah.
too. um, for I actually want to dive into a little bit of like how people, your recommendations on how people can shift from just like using their knowledge that they just got from you in dating, and how can we shift that into like relationship status, right? Because you said like
Yeah.
saying no to things you don't want. So it's easy for you to say no to things that you don't want. And then all of a sudden you want to shift into a relationship, but there are certain things you don't particularly like enjoy about your partner. How can we create more fulfilling relationships while working with those dynamics?
Yeah. So one, it said, is clarity. Get clear. What is it that you do want? Right. And oftentimes, if you're already in a relationship and even before, it's communicating that. One of the things that I would always hear from my friends and other people dating was that, oh, they're supposed to know. Actually, no, your partner, maybe you think that they're supposed to know, but for the most part, most men or those in their masculine energy are very like linear. Like they don't like, women, we tend to like overthink, know all the things. They're just very direct, right? And they're not mind readers. There were times like, and now I know this, I'm very straightforward with my husband. And there's times when I ask, I'm like, did you get that from earlier? It's like, no, would have never known if you didn't tell me. I'm like, what? In my head, I'm like, I gave all these clues. You're supposed to know. But like, it's just, he was like, oh, no, Like I wasn't even paying attention. He was like, I was playing chess on my phone. I'm like, oh my God. Like, but we have to communicate that, right? Like you have to be able to communicate that. And also, one of the things that really helped me shift into that energy was I wrote all the things, right? This is when I was manifesting my husband, what I was looking for. Now look at that list. Now, are you also that? Example, you're looking for someone who's kind. Are you a kind person? Are you looking for someone generous? Are you generous? And not just to say like with money, but like, are you generous with your time, generous with affection, right? Because like tends to attract, like it's an energetic match, right? And so if you are saying that you want all these things, but you're like the complete opposite, it's not, doesn't really mesh well, right? Let's say, okay, I am looking for a partner that like loves to travel and like is, you know, knows a lot about all these things, and you've never set foot outside of your state. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so these are some of the things, like get clarity and then ask yourself, does this also match how you are showing up? Because other people recognize it, you know, and they can see that energy speaks louder than words. And how you start interacting on dates and interactions with your partner will show that.
Right, because your relationships are always a mirror. They're a mirror of who you are. And when you shift yourself, your reality, your inner world becomes your outer world. I always
Absolutely.
love to say this.
Yeah.
Is if you truly want your external circumstances to change, is taking a look inside yourself and saying, are you changing and
Yeah.
embodying what you want to see
Yeah.
outside of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
I know that you have, as we're wrapping up, actually, thank you so much for all of the information
I
that you
can keep
have.
talking about this like
I
forever.
know I can too, but for the audience members, so they can get started on their journey, you have like a free gift for them. Could you share with us what that is?
Yeah. Well, one was a money activator, but I actually have a new one. I just taught my masterclass on manifesting with feminine energy for more ease, joy, and pleasure. And I talk about sex magic in there and some other things. I have the replay for free, so you can still watch it. And so I'll give you that link as well as the money manifestation activator that I have, which will help you manifest more abundance and money into your life.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Marian, for joining us today. And for everybody who is watching, you can grab her link below. Make sure you stay tuned because I have many more interviews to come.
Bye.
And bye.